I just donated $100 to help your battle with cancer. Cody's such a sweet grandson. That's what Lorraine Claiborne said to me as she dropped a bag of frozen peas into my cart at the Piggly Wiggly. Just like that, cheerful, pitying, and certain I was dying. I stared at her. Excuse me, she pointed to her phone. The campaign Cody posted. You didn't know. No, I didn't know. I'm Martha Elkins, 78, retired nurse. I worked at St. Luke's Community Hospital in Ohio for 41 years, through strikes, floods, to MRSA outbreaks, and one armed hostage situation. I never missed a shift. I never faked anything, which is more than I can say for what I saw when I got home and opened my neighbor's iPad. GoFundMe. Banner image. Me, sitting at the foot of a hospital bed, hands folded, looking straight into the lens. Title: Help Nana beat stage 4 cancer. She can't afford treatment. Organizer: Cody Elkins. Raised $3,841 of $25,000 gold. Donations: 117 and climbing. I didn't know whether to vomit or scream. That photo was real, taken 15 years ago. The day after my retirement, the hospital's HR interns snapped it for the newsletter. I remember the patient's name. I remember her daughter brought homemade apple butter. I remember how it smelled, but I never gave anyone permission to post it online, especially not with lies written across my face. I called Cody. He didn't pick up. I texted, Cody, take that fundraiser down right now. We need to talk. No response. 10 minutes later, I heard tires in my driveway. He walked in with the same casual arrogance he used to get out of curfew when he was 16. Hoodie, laptop bag, sunglasses he didn't remove indoors. Hi, Nana, he said, dropping onto my couch. You okay? You posted my face, I said. You told the whole internet I was dying. He grinned like it was a prank. It's just a school thing. Chill, a school thing. You lied to 117 strangers and told them I had cancer. Technically, he said, I didn't say it, I typed it. The room chilled, the kind of cold you can't explain by weather. I pressed my palms together to stop them from shaking, and that makes it okay, he shrugged. It's for a class project, viral marketing. We had to simulate a high-emotion fundraising campaign. I'm donating all the money to a real charity. You should be flattered. You're getting clicks like crazy. Flattered, I whispered. You got that whole old-school caregiver vibe. Very, usable. I've seen death. I've watched people claw through their final hours with dignity, rage, peace, but this being called usable by someone I raised on casseroles and albuterol, this might have hurt more. I leaned forward. You used my photo, my name, my life. You could have asked. You wouldn't get it, he said. It's performative. Empathy, a narrative shell. A narrative shell. That's when I knew I was up against something I didn't have a name for. Not fraud, not miscommunication, something colder. Take it down, I said. He stood. It'll be gone by next week. Relax. Also, Mom says I should tell you to rest more. You've been getting forgetful. I froze. What? She's just worried, he added quickly. You've been acting ... off. He walked out before I could respond. Left his coffee cup. Left me. The fundraiser stayed up for 5 more days. Then it disappeared overnight, but something else appeared in its place. A short video on Cody's class website. Title: The Illusion of Reality, How to Fake a Grandmother. Content: a case study showing how he engineered a persona, using AI tools, voice generators, and composite imaging to simulate a believable elderly character. He even spliced in my voice from voicemails, blurred the footage to look uncanny. Said the old lady doesn't exist. She's proof of how believable digital lies have become. He used my real photo to prove I was fake. I played that video 3 times before I understood what he'd done. By removing the GoFundMe and replacing it with that, he made it impossible to challenge. If I said it was me, I'd look crazy. If I said it wasn't, he'd win his experiment. I walked to the bathroom, looked at myself in the mirror. Lines, scars, brown spots I could trace to specific summers. A shoulder I once dislocated lifting. A burn victim. A tooth slightly darker from the time I bit into a glass thermometer. Real. All of it. Real. So, I did the one thing I haven't done since retirement. I took out my nurse's logbook from the closet. Dates, names, incidents, photos, newspaper clippings, and then I did something even older. I wrote an email. To Cody Elkins. Subject: The things you forgot, body. You want to run a campaign about someone who isn't real. Let's talk. Thread follows. Martha Elkins, RN Ret. Then I hit attach.onephoto.me. Sitting by the bed of Linda Qualls, the patient whose heart stopped on December 4, 2009. The one whose DNR order I overrode because her daughter begged for 2 more minutes. The one who opened her eyes for the last time and said, "Tell her thank you." The photo was taken an hour after that. No AI could replicate that timeline. No synthetic model could carry that weight. I didn't send the email yet. Instead, I printed it, 3 copies, because something told me this wasn't over. The next morning, I walked into church early, not for the sermon, but because Janelle always sat in the 4th pew, second from the left, 20 minutes before service. She looked up, smiling too brightly. "Martha, feeling okay today?" I handed her the printed fundraiser page. She didn't flinch. "I know you took the original photo," I said. I checked the metadata. She folded it once, neatly. "It's already been resolved. Did you know what Cody was doing?" She blinked. "He's a smart boy, ambitious." "That's not an answer." Janelle smiled. "I'm not the one forgetting doctor appointments, or misplacing mail, or losing track of your own checkbook." My throat closed. She leaned in, soft and lethal. "Maybe it's time to let the next generation handle things, Martha. You've earned your rest." There it was, not a threat, a transition plan. The erasure wasn't just digital, it was legal, emotional, familial, and it had already begun. I walked home alone. 2 blocks from the church. I stopped at the photo store that used to develop film. It's a juice bar now, cold-pressed and concrete gray. No sign of the darkroom where I once printed a photo for a grieving father because he couldn't afford the funeral. SLIDESHOW. The city doesn't remember. The internet doesn't care. But I do. I still have the negatives, the logbooks, the threads, and I will let him read every single one. Let's see how real I become when I start replying. I stood in the kitchen, one hand on the back of the dining chair, the other gripping the printout I'd made at the library. The photo, the one they used for the fundraiser, lay between us on the table. The same photo Janelle had taken years ago, back when I thought we were still family. Cody leaned against the counter, arms folded. Janelle didn't bother sitting. She stood at the threshold of the living room, expression blank like a canvas that refused to take paint. "I want it taken down," I said. "The fundraiser, the photo, all of it." Cody didn't flinch. "Grandma, I didn't mean to upset you. It's just a project, a demo. I narrowed my eyes. "You told the internet I was dying." "I never said your name," he replied quickly. "I used a different one. It's not like people know it's you." I picked up the printout, held it an inch from his face. "That's my sweater, my porch, the creases in my hand. Who else do you think that is?" Janelle finally spoke. "It's not that simple, Martha." "Oh, then explain it to me simply." She stepped closer, arms crossed. "Cody used your likeness to model a campaign for his media ethics class. The assignment was to test engagement levels on emotionally driven content. The more people shared it, the higher his score. That's all it was." My chest tightened. "You're telling me this is homework?" "Technically, yes," Cody said, "but it's harmless. I didn't collect a cent." That detail made me pause. "So the donations, they bounce back automatically." "The GoFundMe is set to demo mode. It looks real, but it isn't." I turned to Janelle. "You let this happen." She shrugged. "It's not illegal. It should be." Janelle's tone sharpened. "You've always been overdramatic. This is the future. Kids use AI, image generation, all of it. Get used to it." "AI, I echoed. "What AI? That's me. That's a photo you took." "I registered the copyright for that photo years ago," Janelle replied. "After I shot it on my DSLR, just for fun." "You signed the waiver at the time." "I signed a what?" "A model release. I used it in a college portfolio back when I was still doing freelance photography. It's buried in one of your old Christmas cards." "You signed it without looking." My breath caught. I remembered that winter. She handed me a stack of things to sign before dinner, all tucked into envelopes, said they were family letters, said it didn't matter. I didn't ask. That was my mistake. "So now, you own my face," I said flatly. "I own the photo, the one used in the project," she said. "Let's be clear. And that gives you the right to use it in a fake campaign." "No one's being hurt, Martha." "I am," Cody huffed. "No offense, Grandma, but you don't even have a social presence. No one's tagging you." No one even knows you're real. That's why the campaign worked. People thought it was AI generated. My stomach turned. You told them I was fake. I didn't say that. I just didn't correct them when they assumed. Janelle's voice softened to soft. You should rest. This is all getting a bit much. I stared at her. Don't do that. Do what? Talk to me like I'm losing my grip. She gave a tight smile. No one said that. Cody pushed off the counter. I've got to get back to campus anyway. Finals week. Janelle followed him toward the door. I stood frozen, fists clenched at my sides. Just before she stepped out, Janelle turned back. You still have that old photo box, right? You might want to lock it up. Some of those prints could be worth something now. Then they were gone. I sank into the nearest chair. My ears buzzed. My hands trembled. Not with age but fury. That night, I didn't sleep. Instead, I went to the hallway closet and pulled down the heavy green box labeled ME 1972 to 2001. My photo archive, prints, negatives, contact sheets, all cataloged from my nursing years, my volunteer shifts, the retirement party they threw me in 2001 with balloons, shaped like syringes. At the bottom lay the photo Janelle had taken only. This one was printed on film paper, real, dated, matte, not a file, not a screen, a thing that held weight. I flipped it over. On the back, in faded Sharpie, taken by J. October 2014, porch light on eyes tired. And then, a line I'd added later, the day Zoe forgot my name, the memory, stung. Zoe had been 5, I'd brought her an origami kit and sat with her for hours folding cranes. When Janelle came to pick her up, she asked, did you have fun with Grandma? Zoe blinked, that's Grandma. She'd only seen me in 2 dimensions, on the photo wall, in fridge magnets, never eye to eye. I blinked away the ache. This wasn't about the photo. It was about what they didn't see when they looked at me now. The next morning, I took the photo and headed to the library. Kendra was on shift again. She looked up from the desk. Back so soon? I slid the picture across. Do you know how to check copyright records? She adjusted her glasses. Depends what you're looking for. A woman filed ownership over this image. I want to know when, and if it's tied to anything else. Kendra raised an eyebrow. You think someone's stealing your work? I stared at her. I think someone's stealing me. She didn't ask further. She scanned the photo, clicked around a few government portals, and frowned. Well, she said slowly, this image is registered to A.J. Elkins, filed under portraiture study, personal project, dated December 2014. Would align with what you said. Anything else? Kendra clicked again. It's linked to 3 commercial AI datasets, facial modeling, skin texture mapping, and emotion response testing. My mouth went dry, so I single quotes in a machine. Your face is, Kendra said, or parts of it, enough for coders to sample. It's likely been scraped and trained on, without you ever knowing. I gripped the edge of the desk. Can I remove it? Kendra hesitated. Only if you can prove you didn't give consent. And if the court believes you're mentally competent to argue it. I stared at her. Why wouldn't they believe that? Kendra bit her lip. Because that copyright form Janelle used it includes a waiver of legal dispute. If anyone challenges ownership, the signer must demonstrate mental clarity at the time of signature. She's going to argue I wasn't clear-headed when I signed it. Kendra gave a slow nod. I laughed. It came out dry. That's clever. Kendra said nothing. I picked up the photo again. Then I'll need something older. Something no AI can fake. She met my eyes. Like what? A memory, I said. And a witness who remembers it, too. As I left, I noticed the screen saver on her desk. A photo of me 30 years ago, holding her hand after a school accident, blood on her temple. Me, kneeling in uniform, bandaging her forehead. I turned back. That was you. She blinked. That was you. Neither of us had realized it until now. I pointed to the screen. Let's start with that. She nodded. Okay, let's burn the internet down. My son Brian showed up 2 days later, holding his suitcase like a peace offering, his laptop bag slung over one shoulder. He stood in my doorway for a moment, lips pressed together, eyes scanning the familiar walls like they were now foreign. Then he stepped inside. You should have called me first, he said, not quite accusing, not quite apologizing. I did, twice. You didn't answer. I thought it was spam. He moved past me, into the kitchen. Opened the fridge, like he still lived here. still looking for snacks, still avoiding hard things. I followed him. You saw the fundraiser. He reached for a bottle of water. Mom, I told Cody not to post it that way, but it's complicated. No, I said, it's not. It's dishonest. He told the world I'm dying. It wasn't about money, Brian said, setting the bottle down. It was part of a project, for class. I stared at him. He was testing emotional engagement strategies, virality metrics. Something about real faces outperforming synthetic ones. It's for his senior thesis. I didn't sit down. I didn't want to give him the comfort. So he used my face. My life told people I had stage 4 cancer. Brian opened his laptop, fingers moving faster than his mouth. It's not what you think. Look, a presentation filled the screen. Big bold text. The grandmother effect, leveraging familiarity in empathy-based campaigns. Below it, a photo, grainy, black and white, cropped tight around my face. I was sitting by the window, head turned slightly, eyes downcast. Thanksgiving, 2 years ago. I remembered that exact moment. No one was talking to me. I didn't consent to this. Janelle took the picture, he said, defensive now. She registered it for copyright. She's covered the bases. I breathed slowly. And what about me? Brian blinked. Mom, did it ever occur to you, to any of you, that I was still alive? That I had a say? He closed the laptop. You don't get it. Cody's professor loved it. He said it was the most authentic project he'd seen. He told his classmates I wasn't real. That silenced him. I saw the recordings. He said I was an AI composite based on generational tropes. Yeah, Brian said after a long pause. That was part of the angle. He wanted to challenge how people interact with content. What makes something feel true online? So, I'm a case study now. No, he said, too quickly. You're his grandmother. Am I? Or just a trope? Brian leaned back, rubbed his face. He didn't mean harm. It wasn't malicious. Then why does it feel like a eulogy no one asked me to die for? That quieted him again. I turned from the table and walked into the hallway, opened the drawer where I kept old film negatives. Not photos, negatives, real, physical records. Proof you can't edit. I pulled one out, labeled in shaky pen, Deck 92, shift, C. Yamata. She was the patient, mid-30s, congestive heart failure. The doctors had given up. I hadn't. I changed her dosage, stayed through 2 shifts, and when she stabilized, I got written up for protocol deviation. My reward for saving her life was 3 months of probation and a closed-door meeting about scope of practice. But I remembered her face. I remembered the way she squeezed my hand. I looked at the negative under the lamp. You could see me, sitting at her bedside, clipboard in hand. It wasn't art, it wasn't pretty, but it was real. Brian, I called out, print the presentation, every slide, and I want the email thread between Cody and his professor. He walked in, brows furrowed. Why? Because this isn't about feelings anymore. This is about proof. He didn't argue, just nodded, and sat down to print. When the pages came out of the tray, I flipped through them. One slide showed a chart, engagement levels by demographic. Another, a mock interview transcript, Cody narrating how his AI grandmother had touched the hearts of donors around the world. I need the name of the professor, I said. Brian wrote it down. Professor Halvorsen, Department of Media Psychology, Ohio Tech. Get me a number, I said. I don't know if Brian. He looked at me, sighed, and typed, by sunset. I had a voicemail number. I sat at the table and called. This is Martha Elkins, I said slowly. I believe one of your students, Cody Elkins, used my likeness in a recent media project, without consent, and claimed I was artificial. I assure you, I am not. I would like a conversation. I hung up, then I called Kendra. She picked up right away. Ms. Elkins, I need your help, I said. The tech guy you mentioned, the one who recovers deleted posts, can he still do that? I can ask. What are we looking for? Evidence. The kind no one can edit. Everything from Cody's project, screenshots, file names, timestamps, especially anything scrubbed. She was silent for a moment. I'll see what I can do. Thank you. I hung up and turned back to Brian. What else do I need to know? He looked tired. Cody's planning to present this at a campus-wide showcase next week. TEDx-style thing. What's his topic? Blurred lines between reality and emotion in digital empathy campaigns. I let that sit. They're making a stage for him to stand on, I said. while I sit here being deleted. It's not personal, Mom. It's entirely personal. Brian didn't answer. I stood, walked back to the living room. Same chair, same window. I sat like I had in that photo, back straight, hands folded, staring out. Only this time, I wasn't waiting for someone to see me. I was watching the street for a signal. Something was coming. I could feel it. They'd buried me under pixels and slogans, called it strategy, called it innovation. But they forgot one thing. I remember everything. And I keep receipts. The photo was me, but the caption wasn't. Terminal cancer. No family. Donate before it's too late. I clicked the link again. Same GoFundMe page. Same $42,000 raised. Same blurry photo from 1989, me in scrubs, sitting beside a dying patient. Except now it was pixelated, cropped, and dressed up in tragedy. I turned the monitor to the librarian. Where did this come from? Kendra leaned in. A girl in her 30s with dyed red hair and wire-framed glasses. She squinted. This one's been floating around for a few weeks. It keeps getting reposted. You want me to trace it? I hesitated. I don't even have Facebook. Or whatever else this is on. She cracked her knuckles. Then you're in the right place. I let her take over the keyboard. Her fingers moved like water, tabs opening and closing with the speed of muscle memory. Reddit, Twitter, some reposting platform I'd never heard of. Each click revealed my face on more screens than I'd ever agreed to. They'd filtered the image to make it grainier, older, sadder. This one has 11K likes, she muttered. Caption says, she was my nurse when I was a kid. Now she's dying and has no one. Let's give back to the people who cared for us. Who wrote that? I asked. She opened the post. Anonymous. But the username is Cell KINS 99 single quotes. Double quotes. Cody. But I kept it steady. Can you print this page for me? She nodded. Sure. Also the one with the original photo. I think it's from an old article about hospital care. Kendra narrowed her eyes. Wait, was this you? In real life, I met her gaze. Yes. Her face shifted slightly. Not pity, not disbelief. Something more, fragile recognition. Sorry, she said quietly. I didn't mean to doubt you. I thought maybe it was AI generated or something. I was a nurse, I said. That patient died an hour after I took that photo. I sat with him because no one else came. Kendra looked down. Give me a few minutes. She printed everything I asked, then paused with her finger on the mouse. There's something else, she said. Someone reported you on Facebook, said you were impersonating a sick woman to scam people. I laughed, but it sounded wrong, so I'm impersonating myself now. Look, I know it's crazy, she said, but Facebook took the report seriously. That's why you can't see or report. The photo it's flagged under privacy protection. My hands curled into fists. I want to see everything that's been said about me. You'll need an account, she said. I don't want an account. I want the truth. Kendra studied me for a second, then pulled out her phone. I'll send screenshots to my email and print them from there. Technically not allowed, but she trailed off, shrugging. While she worked, I wandered over to the nonfiction aisle. Hospice, palliative care, end-of-life stories. Each spine, a reminder of who people think I am now. By the time I returned, Kendra had laid out 5 sheets across the desk like case files. One post said I was a local angel who never asked for praise. Another said I was a fake account built to manipulate emotions. The likes and shares told no story at all, just that people believed whatever made them feel more virtuous. I know this is a lot, Kendra said, but you're not crazy. I looked up. No. She shook her head. You're just, the first real person I've met who's being treated like she doesn't exist. I folded the sheets. Can I keep these? Please do. I was halfway out the door when she called out, wait, what hospital did you work at? I told her. She hesitated. Did you ever work up on Christmas Eve, 1995? My breath caught. Yes. Her voice dropped. I think you were there when I came in. Overdose. I was 9. I stared at her. My mom didn't want me. Said I ruined her chances. She blinked fast. You put a sticker on my IV bag. A smiley face. Told me I'd grow up and outrun everything. I remembered the case. The way the girl had clung to the edge of the bed. The way she didn't cry, just stared. Your name was Katie then, I said. She smiled. Middle name. I changed it after. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she whispered, they can't erase you. I'm here. I walked home in a daze. In my purse were printed screenshots of strangers arguing about whether I existed. At my side, the memory of a child I'd saved who remembered me when my own family tried to forget. I sat on the edge of my bed and pulled out the shoebox. The film negatives were still there, brittle with age. One was the original, the photo Cody had twisted. I held it to the light. In the background, a clipboard. If you looked close enough, you could read the time, the date, my initials, proof. The phone rang. Mom, Brian. I waited. I heard you've been upset. I didn't answer. Cody says, you're misunderstanding the project. It's not about money, it's art. He says, I'm art. Says it's a commentary. Like people believe what they want to believe. You're the symbol. I'm not a symbol. I'm a person. He sighed. Can you just let it go? You're not on social media. It doesn't really affect you. I hung up. That night I didn't sleep. I scanned the old photo into my scanner. I uploaded it. I opened an email and typed 3 names in the to field. Brian, Cody, Janelle. Subject. Do you remember this day, body? Because I do. I remember everything. The patient's name, the smell in the room, the prayer I said after he passed. This was real. I am real. If you need more proof, I'll give it to you. No one replied, but someone had read it. The read receipt turned blue. 2 days later, a letter arrived. Legal-sized envelope. Inside, a notice from the county clerk. Request for guardianship hearing, mental incapacity allegation. Filed by Janelle Elkins. So this was their move. Erase the real person. Claim I'd lost touch with reality. That way, whatever I said after this would be delusion. Anything I did would be dismissed as decline. But they'd made one mistake. They forgot what I used to do for a living. I'd documented deaths, tracked medications by the hour, kept records so precise, even the coroner trusted me. If they wanted a hearing, fine. I'd bring more than words. I'd bring the film. And this time, the light would land on me. Cody had said one sentence that kept circling my head like a drain. Who's going to believe you? I stood at the edge of his university's quad, watching students in hoodies sip coffee and speed type into laptops. Kendra had tracked the original GoFundMe campaign through an archive snapshot, then found a link buried in a class project submission. From there, I found the schedule for Cody's marketing seminar. Today was presentation day. I wasn't invited. I didn't ask. The glass doors of the lecture hall were propped open. I stepped inside just as his voice rang out over the mic. The AI challenge wasn't accuracy, he was saying. It was believability. The photo had to feel like someone you almost knew. Familiar, but faded. A photo of me filled the screen behind him, cropped from the waist up. Grace, my nurse, badge blurred out. Grandmothers, especially in caregiving roles, are strong emotional triggers, Cody said. So we modeled the AI off a real hospice image, trained the voice to sound Midwestern, tired but kind, and then we tested, how much would strangers donate if the story was urgent? The room laughed. A few hands went up for questions. No one turned to me. I didn't make a sound. When he walked out 40 minutes later, earbuds already in, he didn't see me. I stepped into his path. He stopped, blinked. What are you doing here? I looked him in the eye. The email password is still the same. Cody, you never changed it. He paled. What? I printed the threads. He looked around. A group of girls passed, giggling. You're embarrassing yourself. I held up a folder. No, this is you embarrassing yourself. You wrote, she's too analog to even find the Wi-Fi settings. Then you asked Liam to edit the GoFundMe copy because it sounded too realistic. You wanted it to be just detached enough. His jaw clenched. You broke into my email. I raised you on paper records and carbon copies. You think I can't print? He snatched the folder, flipped it open, scanned the pages. You don't understand what this was, he muttered. I do. You erased me while I was still breathing. He scoffed. It's a project. Nobody got hurt. You used my face to get $42,000 of sympathy clicks. Then when people started asking questions, you said I wasn't real. Cody stepped back. I didn't say that. I just left it vague. Janelle's lawyer called me this morning. She's filing for legal guardianship. Says I'm a danger to myself. Know what that tells me? He didn't answer. You're scared, I said. Not of what you did. Of being found out. He tried to push past me, but I stepped in again. I'm not here to scream. I'm here to give you one chance to fix it. One email. One apology. You tell your professor the image was real, that I exist. He laughed, short and sharp. That ships sailed. This went viral because it wasn't real. They loved it because it was AI. You think I can walk that back? I looked him over. Then, you're not as clever as you think. That night, I forwarded the full email chain to Kendra. She wrote back in 5 minutes. You want to leak this? Or wait until Janelle files? I didn't know yet. I just knew I needed more. The next morning, I went through the attic. There were dozens of photo albums, snapshots in fading ink and yellow corners, but I only needed one. The envelope was still tucked behind the insulation panel, where I'd hidden it in 1992. The line clicked. I thought he'd hung up, but after a pause, he said, "Send me what you have." And I did. That night, I lay in bed with the photo in my lap. Cody had cut me out of the shot for his digital campaign. Just my hand, the edge of my sleeve. He'd fed it into an algorithm that turned warmth into branding. But this photo, the original, showed the whole truth. The strain in my face, the clock in the background, the rawness no filter could replicate. I stared at it until sleep took me, not because it brought comfort, but because it reminded me I'd been real long before they tried to erase me, and I wasn't done yet. They said I wasn't real. Then why did my hands shake when I opened the library door again? Why did I know exactly where the microfilm machine was, even though they'd shoved it into a storage room next to a busted vending machine? I found the envelope Kendra left me tucked behind the reference desk. No note, just my name written in Sharpie. Inside, a USB, 3 printed screenshots of Cody's Reddit AMA titled, "Creating AI Grandma, How I Fooled the Internet," and a post-it with a number dot. The number belonged to a young woman named Erin Caldwell. Her voice on the phone was clipped. "Professional, you're not going to like why I called Miss Elkins," she said. "I think you're fake." I didn't hang up. "I've been called worse," I said. "I'm a freelance reporter. I found your photo in 3 different AI image datasets. You're listed as elderly, kind, female, type 3. That stopped me. What does that mean?" "It means your face has been scraped into dozens of fake profiles, training models, hospice ads, obituary generators, anything that wants a sweet, forgettable grandma." Forgettable. There was a pause. "I mean, no, I get it," I said. "I was never on TikTok." She hesitated. "I thought you were a generated persona created by a student. But then I cross-referenced your name with old hospital records. I found you. You're real. And you're being erased." It was that word that made me say yes. Erased. I invited her over. She arrived the next afternoon with a small recorder and the kind of eyes that flicked too quickly, like she was always a half-second ahead of herself. She took one look at me and blinked hard. "You're really Martha Elkins?" "I hope so," I said. "If not, I've been watering someone else's roses for 50 years. I poured us tea. Erin didn't touch hers. "I need you to explain everything," she said. So, I did. I told her about the GoFundMe, the denial, the copyright registration in Janelle's name, the fake Facebook reports, the group chats. I showed her Cody's class presentation pulled from the university archive, thanks to a librarian friend of Kendra's. I played the audio of Cody calling me a storytelling template. At his lecture, Erin's fingers hovered over her keyboard. Then she asked the question no one had asked me yet. "How are you still standing?" I met her eyes. "I've been ignored before. It's different when it's your own blood doing it, sure. But erasure isn't new. You just call it something fancier now." She blinked. "What do you want to do with this?" "I want it stopped." "Okay," she said. "Then we start by making you undeniable." We worked for 6 days. Erin helped me organize every piece of paper I had. I unearthed my original nursing license, my termination letter, the commendation I got from the family of that patient who died on my shift, the hospital records showing I changed her meds without approval. I showed her the photo, the real photo. Me, in a white coat, holding the hand of a woman with tubes in her nose, both of us lit by the morning sun. Cody had used it as a base layer for his AI mock-up, but the real version had my initials stamped on the back, from the film lab that closed down in '98. "You need to talk," Erin said. "They need to see you." I shook my head. "They don't believe me when I'm sitting at their kitchen table. Why would strangers believe me on a screen?" "Because you'll say the one thing an AI can't," she said. "What's that?" "Something messy. We filmed that night." She angled the camera in my living room. The couch sagged a little under me. I didn't rehearse. I just spoke. "My name is Martha Elkins. I'm 78. I'm real. And I remember everything. I talked about my shift on June 3, 1986, how I heard the cough in room 207 and knew it wasn't normal, how I overrode the attending's orders because the patient's lungs were filling faster than anyone realized, how I lost my job, how the hospital let me go quietly, said they appreciated my passion but couldn't ignore protocol. I didn't cry. I held up the photo and said, he used this to tell a lie, but the truth is harder to fake. It lives in moments, not models. Aaron uploaded it that night. No music, no filter, just me. Within 24 hours, it had 50,000 views. Then Janelle called. Martha, she said, tight and smooth as a cello string. You're being irresponsible. You mean visible. You're being manipulated. By whom? Myself. This isn't going away, she snapped. You're not well. You haven't been well for a long time. I didn't respond. You'll be hearing from our lawyer. I suggest you rest. The call ended. An hour later, Aaron called me into the living room. Cody just went live. She said. He was standing in a bright white studio with TEDx letters behind him, dressed clean, rehearsed smile, clicker in hand. We created Martha to explore the boundaries of perception. What makes someone feel real, he said. When AI tells a story of sacrifice and kindness, we trust it. We project emotion onto it. My stomach twisted. She wasn't real, he said again, but she helped people reflect on who their grandmothers were, who they wanted them to be. The applause roared. Aaron was pacing. We need to get ahead of this. I stood up. No, I said. We need to let him finish. Let the world hear him say it. Then we show them everything. She looked at me. You sure? I nodded. He thinks I'm too old to understand timing. He forgot who raised him. That night, the video of me speaking hit 200,000, then 400. A comment thread emerged. I knew a nurse like her. She held my mother's hand in 87. This is real. I can feel it. But feeling, it seemed, wasn't enough for the law. 2 days later, I got the notice. Petition for guardianship, filed by Janelle, citing increased paranoia, delusional behavior, and digital manipulation. Cody signed an affidavit. A hearing was scheduled in 5 days. Let them file it, I told Aaron. Let them all come. We'll bring the photo, the email thread, the contact sheets from the lab. She raised an eyebrow. And what else? I smiled. And a little help from someone they all forgot. She didn't ask who, but that night, I called Brian. He didn't pick up, but I left a message. Son, I know you're scared of what happens if you choose, but let me remind you, indecision is a choice, and this time, silence is consent. I hung up then. I sat down with Aaron and labeled every document. I wasn't fighting for property or likes. I was fighting for a life I'd already lived. And I was very much still living when I arrived at the courthouse. I wore the same blouse I'd worn in that photograph that one Cody had turned into an AI prompt. A cream linen shirt, stained faintly, with iodine near the cuff, the kind of detail a machine would erase. Janelle greeted me with a tight-lipped smile and a folder thick enough to choke a shredder. Cody didn't even look up from his phone. Brian stood behind them both, arms crossed, shoulders hunched like he was trying to disappear into his own spine. The judge was a woman in her 50s, efficient, unsmiling. She opened the hearing by asking if I understood why I was here. I'm being declared legally incompetent, I said. Janelle chimed in. We're here to secure temporary guardianship for her safety. Martha's been showing signs of confusion, paranoia, and delusion. She believes she's the victim of a conspiracy involving her own grandson. She thinks people online have replaced her with a computer image. She has, I said. He has. The judge raised her hand. Ms. Elkins, please. The proceedings were short and brutal. Janelle had statements from Cody's professors, from Detective Rowe, even a few excerpts from my recorded conversations at the library. Warnings, my frantic questions. They framed me not as a woman seeking answers, but as someone unraveling. I wasn't allowed to speak at length, just short answers. Do you live alone? Yes. Do you take medication? Yes. For blood pressure. Do you remember your birth date? Yes. And yours, if I cared enough to check. Have you ever used a smartphone? No. Do you believe people online are impersonating you? I know they are. That was all it took. The judge granted temporary guardianship to Janelle and Cody, effective immediately. Control over my medical, financial, and legal decisions, including the rights to my image and likeness. They even asked me to sign the confirmation. I'm not signing that, I said, voice steady. You don't have to, Janelle replied, sweetly. We already have the order. Back at home, my house was quieter than usual, which is saying something. Aaron hadn't returned my messages all day, neither had Kendra. My laptop was missing. I wasn't allowed to open a new bank account, sign any legal documents, or appear publicly without Cody or Janelle's approval. I was, in the eyes of the law, a well-dressed ghost. I took the bus to the only place still free of them, the local photo lab. Inside, the clerk, young, pink hair, more piercings than a pincushion, handed me a manila envelope. Here's your negatives, she said, and the enlargements. I slid them out just enough to glimpse the black and white gloss of the image. The one from 1986, me holding the hand of Mr. Halperin as he slipped away, just after I'd changed his dosage behind the attending physician's back. I never forgot the weight of that decision. Inside was the original film strip, 3 shots. Me, mid-20s, sitting on the edge of a hospital bed. The patient beside me, pale, barely visible, but my face focused, exhausted, hands wrapped around, his was clear. This was the image Cody had cropped, online. He'd filtered it to monochrome, erased the name tag, blurred the forebag, but this was the real one, undigitized, untouched. The man in the photo was George Riley, terminal heart failure. I had overridden a morphine dose because the machine missed a spike in his vitals. They opened a formal review the next day. I was never fired, but I was quietly asked to step away from critical care. I never fought back. I never told anyone. The day after George died, his daughter had sent me a thank you card. I still had it. Her name was Dana Riley. I picked up the landline, called the local hospital, asked for patient records from 1992. I didn't expect them to have any, but the nurse on the phone hesitated. Riley, she repeated. You mean Detective Rao's mother? My stomach turned. He's the son. Yes, ma'am. I hung up. Now I knew why Ro looked at me like a liar when I filed that identity theft report. I walked to the police station, asked for him. He came out, stony-faced. You're back, he said. I need to talk. He folded his arms. Make it short. I pulled out the photo. Your mother. I sat with her when she died. You think I gave her the wrong meds? I didn't. He looked at the image. His face didn't change. This proves nothing. It proves I was there. He handed it back. You want sympathy now? I want accuracy. That's what your badge says, doesn't it? Ro didn't speak for a long time. Then he said, there was a note in her chart. She asked for you by name. I waited. He added. That was the only time she ever asked for anyone. I nodded once, then let me be real again. Back home, I opened a new email account. I sent the chat transcripts, the email logs, and the original photo scans to 3 addresses, Kendra's, Rao's, and Brian's. Brian replied after midnight. I didn't know it was that bad. I thought he was just being stupid. I didn't know he said you were fake. I stared at the screen. Then came a second email. Can we talk? I typed, yes, but I didn't hit send. The next day Kendra knocked on my door. She had a flash drive in one hand, and a trembling smile. We found the archive of the group chat, she said. They used Discord. It was public for weeks. Then they tried to delete it. She handed me the drive. They laughed at your handwriting, she said. Said your grocery list looked like something out of a museum. But one of them, Liam, left the chat, said he felt sick. I opened the folder. Screenshot after screenshot. Lines of text. C_Elkins to 2. She's not even a person anymore. She's a concept. JPoel88. Lol, your grandma is an ARGC_Elkins22. I told you. It's cleaner to say she never existed than explain how we stole the image. JPoel88. Ethics. Class is gonna eat this up. He closed the laptop. Outside, thunder cracked. Rain started falling hard. For the first time in a week. I didn't feel cold. I felt ready. I didn't recognize the officer at first. He stood in my living room with a clipboard, reading my name like I was an overdue parcel. Mrs. Martha Elkins. Yes, he handed me a manila envelope. Summons, informal competency hearing, next Thursday, 10th District Court. I blinked. Competency. Petition was filed yesterday. By who? He hesitated. Janelle Elkins, my daughter-in-law. The door closed behind him with a practiced finality. I opened the envelope slowly. 4 pages, printed front and back, terms like diminished mental capacity, risk of financial mismanagement, and temporary guardianship. I read it 3 times. Nowhere did it mention Cody. Nowhere did it explain how I'd gone from a retired nurse with no debt to a high-risk elder in need of court supervision. I boiled water, not because I wanted tea but because my hands needed something to do that didn't involve tearing paper in half. I dialed Brian. He picked up on the third ring. "Hey Mom, your wife filed for guardianship." A pause. "I saw the paperwork," he admitted. "Look, it's temporary. It's just to protect things while this whole GoFundMe stuff blows over. It's to silence me," I said. "That's what this is, Mom, I'm lucid." "Brian, I know. You believe me." He didn't answer. I stared at the flickering kettle. "Do you?" I asked again. He sighed. "I think you believe yourself. But right now, everything's spinning out of control. This media stuff, your name online code is just a kid, and people are starting to." He told people I'm not real, because he panicked. His professor saw your photo on that fake campaign and thought he was committing fraud. He had to say something, so he erased me. I said. Brian was quiet. I hung up. The hearing wasn't in a courtroom. It was in a beige municipal room with a plastic flag and a broken clock. No jury. Just a judge, a court reporter, and Janelle with a folder of printed emails. She wore blue soft sympathetic. Cody didn't show. Brian did. He sat behind her, not next to her. The judge skimmed the documents. "So, the respondent is the grandmother of Mr. Cody Elkins, who's listed here as the subject of an ongoing social media controversy." Janelle nodded. "It's escalated very fast, Your Honor. The campaign went viral. Now there are accusations, misinformation, and honestly, Martha's having trouble distinguishing fact from fiction." "I'm right here," I said. The judge turned to me. "Do you understand the nature of this petition, Mrs. Elkins?" "I do. My daughter-in-law wants control over my finances, my decisions, and my legal voice. She claims I'm unstable because I objected to being used in a lie." "Used how?" "My photo, my past, my work. It was turned into a digital puppet, a story Cody made up for a class experiment, then denied when it spread too far. Now he claims I never existed, that I'm an AI composite." The judge blinked. "Are you?" I laughed once. "Would an AI have arthritis?" The court reporter didn't smile. Neither did the judge. Janelle stood. "With respect, Your Honor, this isn't about photos. It's about behavior. Martha has been contacting strangers on Facebook, accusing my son of identity theft. She's visited his campus twice without coordination. She has no email history before last week. I didn't need email before. I cut in. I had photo albums, a library card, a pension I earned bedside, not online." The judge raised a hand. "Mrs. Elkins, I need to ask you, do you believe your grandson deliberately misrepresented you?" "Yes." "Do you have documentation of that?" "I do, but no one will print it." "Why?" "Because in a world of edits and algorithms, the truth takes longer to load." He frowned. Janelle stepped in again. "We're not trying to hurt her. We're trying to protect her." I looked at Brian. He looked at the floor. The order was temporary. 30 days, but it changed everything. Cody was granted limited control over my online presence to correct reputational damage and digital confusion. Janelle was allowed to manage my financial communications, citing risk of fraud. I could still live alone. For now. I walked out of the courthouse and sat on the cement steps. It was raining. Kendra found me there. She didn't say hello, just sat down beside me and pulled her coat tighter. I read the motion. She said, "You work fast." I called in a favor. I looked at her. "My uncle's a paralegal. I used to help him scan documents. I know what digital signatures look like." "Cody forged one of your email headers." I turned. "Can you prove that?" She handed me a thumb drive. "This has metadata comparisons. And something else, an archived copy of the college presentation Cody gave. It wasn't just a class project. He pitched the idea of empathy-based avatars to a VC intern. You were the prototype." I took the drive. My hands were shaking now. Not from anger, from exhaustion. What do I do with this? Whatever they don't expect. Back home, I went to the attic. My knees protested every step, but I reached the top and opened the cedar box. Not the one with my marriage certificate, the other one tucked behind the insulation. Inside were 3 things: a cassette tape, labeled Patient B, March 1989, a 5x7 photo, black and white, me, in uniform, holding the hand of a man with tubes in his nose, a letter, written by his daughter, thanking me for staying with him when she couldn't. I took them downstairs. I called the only person who might still remember. Detective Rowe, I said. His voice on the line was guarded. Mrs. Elkins, I need you to listen. I'm not part of your hearing. This isn't about court. A pause. It's about your mother. Silence. She was in room 11, East Wing. Spring of '89, died at 2:03 a.m. I was the night nurse. I remember the report, he said slowly. You changed her dosage. She was choking. The attending didn't answer his pager. I adjusted morphine within emergency bounds. Your aunt approved it by phone. The review board cleared me, but the hospital took the fall. My mother died, he said. She died in less pain than she would have otherwise. That was my call. I made it, and I lived with it. He didn't speak. I still remember her earrings, I said. Blue glass. She touched them every time she coughed. I kept the letter your aunt wrote. It's here. What do you want from me? Just to be believed. Once the photo had been taken by a med student doing his rotation. I never knew his name, but he'd sent it to me afterward, saying it meant something. I'd kept it, undeveloped, for decades. Now it would mean something again. The next day, a strange woman arrived at my door. You're Martha Elkins, she asked. Yes. She stepped aside and motioned to a camera crew. I'm with The Scroll, independent docuseries. Your story's trending in the Uncanny Valley forums. Some think you're AI, others think you're being silenced. I want to film you. I'm not doing stunts. Neither are we, she said. But people are finally asking questions. If you stay quiet now, they'll write the ending for you. I let her in. Her name was Erin Caldwell. Not the Erin from the library, but the same name. Another strange echo. This Erin was sharp, skeptical, and deeply online. She asked good questions. She asked hard ones. Why not sue Cody? Because they'll claim I'm not mentally competent to file. Why not go to the press? Every article will be edited to say allegedly. Then why not give up? Because someone will come next. Another woman with a story that sounds too strange to be real. And no one will believe her either. She nodded and started recording. We filmed in the living room, then in the kitchen. Then she asked to see the box of documents. I showed her the handwritten letters, the nurse rosters, the old pharmacy reports, the email printouts from Cody's class server, the framed picture of the nursing staff, and the negatives. When she saw the photograph, the real one, she blinked. This is the shot Cody used. Yes, he cropped it, cleaned it, ran it through Mid-Journey, and then told his entire class I was a composite. Why this photo? Because it's the only one I never shared. Erin sat back, lips parted, stunned. I thought this was a story about an old woman who got confused by the internet, she said quietly. But he stole your story, sanitized it, and called it fiction. No, he called it innovation. 2 days later, Erin's short documentary went live. It was just 8 minutes, no music, no filter, just me talking, showing the documents, holding the photo. At the end, she asked me the same question she'd started with. Who are you? I looked into the lens. My name is Martha Elkins. I worked 38 years as a nurse. I don't have a podcast. I don't sell t-shirts. I'm not trending, and I don't want to be. I raised a son. I helped raise a grandson. I lived a life, not a perfect one, but a real one. And I don't care what your software says I existed. The video hit 300,000 views by midnight. Cody's campus account posted a statement the next day, claiming Erin had manipulated an elderly woman for clicks, that I had misrepresented the project's intent. But something had shifted. People in the comments didn't laugh. They asked questions. Who took the original photo? Why does the metadata match 1986? Why does she know the names, dates, dosages? Why does the AI version blink wrong? 24 copycat accounts sprung up, calling themselves #SheWasReal. But it didn't matter, not yet. Because that night, Janelle arrived at my door with a paper and a warning. You're not to speak to the press, she said, not unless it goes through me. That includes podcasts, videos, and live streams. I didn't live stream anything. Don't get clever. She held out another document. Here's the new guardianship extension. You've been flagged for public distress. You're not allowed to travel outside county lines without written approval. I stared at the paper. That includes studios. Janelle narrowed her eyes. What studio? I smiled. You should watch TEDx Cincinnati this weekend, Because what Janelle didn't know, what Cody hadn't even noticed, is that Erin didn't just make a documentary. She submitted it, and someone bit, a producer at TEDx, who wanted the real woman behind the AI hoax, to close their livestream event. I wasn't just going to speak, I was going to speak last. And this time, no one would own my voice but me. They'd given Cody the stage, bright lights, 100 silent faces in the auditorium, 1,000 more watching online. Behind him, the massive screen flickered with a looped video of Martha AI nodding softly, eyes wet with programmed wisdom. The purpose, Cody said, voice steady, was to explore emotional authenticity in the age of synthetic memory. If we can feel moved by an algorithm, what does that say about our definitions of real? The crowd murmured, impressed, stirred. I waited in the wings. In that moment, I wasn't someone's grandmother. I wasn't a patient, a liability, a mistake, or a relic. I was a woman standing in the exact place she needed to be. My shoes clicked on the stage. The host glanced up, confused. Security hesitated. I had no name badge. But then Erin stood, from the third row, camera already lifted, and said clearly, "She's real. Let her speak." I stepped up to the microphone, older than anyone on that stage, and still unshaken. "I'm Martha Elkins," I said. "The woman you see in that video, not a simulation, not a construct. A person, with breath, bone, and memory." Cody's jaw tightened. "This is inappropriate," you said. "I was fictional," I interrupted, pulling a manila envelope from my coat. "You told your classmates, your sponsors, the internet, that you'd generated me from scratch. So let's compare notes, shall we?" I held up the first photo, not a screenshot, a printed film photograph, grainy, sun-damaged, authentic. Me, 32 years old, holding a patient's hand. "That man," I said, pointing, "died in my care. His wife took this photo. She gave me one copy. I never posted it, never scanned it. You took it from a shoebox in my attic, without asking." Silence. The second paper I unfolded was a printed email, sent from Cody's university account, to a friend named Miles. "She's got no clue. Doesn't even know how to open Gmail. We can make up anything." Third, a handwritten letter, from Kendra. "I remember the way you kept me calm when I couldn't breathe. Ms. Elkins, I owe my life to you." I didn't cry. I let the evidence speak. Cody reached for the mic, tone clipped. "The point wasn't whether my grandmother existed. The point was," Erin interrupted now, voice sharp. "Then why did you file for full image rights under the title fictional construct? Why did you accept a $10,000 award from the university's innovation grant, citing AI-generated empathy simulation?" He faltered, and then the comments started flooding in from the live stream chat Erin had quietly activated from her phone the moment I stepped out. "Is this a real woman? Wait, that's her." He lied. He erased her. Hashtag she was real. Security didn't come. No one moved. So I kept speaking. "You didn't want to help me," I said. "You wanted to replace me. You took a life I spent decades living, the patience I held, the choices I made, the things I regret, and turned them into a template. You made grief into a gimmick. You used your own grandmother as a backdrop for a TED Talk." I turned to the crowd. I wasn't perfect. I made mistakes. But I was here. I am still here. There was no music, no applause. Just a long, weighty quiet, the kind that only truth creates. Afterward, Cody didn't follow me. Janelle didn't call. Thought Brian did. He sent a message that read, "I saw, I'm sorry I let it happen." I didn't answer that night. Erin posted the full video unedited, no filters. It was viewed 6.2 million times in 4 days. A week later, someone knocked on my door. A young girl, no older than 19, stood, holding a printout of the photo I'd shown on stage. She said, "My grandma was a nurse. They never believed her either. I invited her in for tea. I used to think silence was strength." In the hospital, we were trained to carry sorrow without noise. If a patient screamed, you held their hand. If they died, you cleaned the bed before the next arrived. You were needed, not heard. That habit followed me into motherhood, into aging, into being pushed aside. When Cody lied, I didn't yell. When Janelle filed that guardianship order, I didn't scream. I looked for proof, for pattern, for a place to stand where their narrative couldn't bend me. And here's what I learned. The world won't always erase you with violence. Sometimes it erases you with applause. they'll call you inspiring. While gutting your story, they'll label you resilient while pushing you off the stage. I don't need to be remembered as brave. I need to be remembered as true. And that means leaving a record no one else can write over. To every woman over 60 watching this, if they cut your name from the credits, write it in ink. If they use your pain for likes, show them the version they didn't invent. Your legacy isn't a hashtag, it's a document, a testimony, a photo in film that no algorithm can fake. You don't need to shout, but you do need to speak. Thank you for watching. If you want to hear more stories, they tried to silence, stay with us. I've got a few more memories left to share.